So, where are we when it comes to the Rob Reiner and Michelle Reiner murder investigation? The trial is set to take place February 23rd. I should say the arraignment, where Nick will enter a plea of either not guilty by reason of insanity or not guilty. I'm leaning on the latter. Everybody else, starting with TMZ, ABC, NBC, everybody has thrown the book at Nick Reiner saying this guy's mental. There's a reason why he killed his parents and all kinds of stuff. So we're going to go back to the beginning. We're going to go back to the beginning and we're going to try and piece some of this stuff together because I think it's important to document what people are saying. And really, at the end of the day, if I'm wrong, I am wrong. But I'm going under the presumption that Nick Reiner is innocent until proven guilty. So, welcome to Black Swan Diaries. All right, I got my Superman mug. We are ready to go. So it's been just over a month. December 14th was when we first began to hear whispers that Rob and Michelle Reiner were murdered sometime on December 14th. It's been over a month. We still don't have the time. It's been about 40 plus days, and we still don't have the weapon. And there's many things we still don't know. Many things. We don't know if Rob and Michelle were awake or if they were asleep. At the very beginning, TMZ put out statements saying 100% Nick Reiner murdered his parents in their sleep. And once they spun it, the media took control. And it didn't start to happen until, I would say, December 15th, December 16th is when the ball started rolling. Nothing happened Sunday night. It was very quiet. It was eerily quiet Sunday night until the LAPD showed up and made this presentation, made this press conference Sunday night. The first night after the murders took place. Here's what they had to say.
I understand there are going to be questions regarding what occurred here tonight. I will not be able to provide information in a lot of areas that questions may be getting asked, but I'll do the best I can. So at approximately 3:40 this afternoon, Los Angeles police officers, along with the Los Angeles City Fire Department, responded to the 200 block of Chadbourne Avenue here in the city of Brentwood. Upon arrival, we determined that there were two deceased individuals in the residence. The Los Angeles Police Department is now conducting an investigation at this residence here on Chadbourne, and that investigation will continue over the coming days. We will not be releasing any information regarding who was found deceased in the residence because that will be done by the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office. So if there are any inquiries regarding the identity of the individuals that are deceased inside of the residence, that information will come from the LA County Coroner's Office. The current death investigation that is being conducted by the Los Angeles Police Department is going to be handled by the Homicide Special Section of Robbery Homicide Division of the Los Angeles Police Department. That investigation will move forward through the night, and tomorrow morning we will probably have additional information regarding what occurred here on Chadbourne and our investigation moving forward. We will not be releasing any further information regarding the investigation that is occurring here in Brentwood tonight. Our detectives will be responding along with our forensic science division and our technical investigation division investigators to conduct a full crime scene investigation and determine the appropriateness of the investigation moving forward. At this time, the Los Angeles Police Department is not seeking anyone as a suspect or as a person of interest or in any other manner, and we will not be doing that until we conduct our investigation and we move forward. That's all I have right now at this early preliminary stage of this investigation. If you have questions that I can answer, I will answer them. I would just ask you, please, if we do not have the ability to answer the questions, that you remain patient over the coming hours and over the coming days. Starting tomorrow morning, we will be responding and providing additional information as it becomes publicly available.
We're being told that a family
who actually made the call that brought fire department and police officers here. Has that person known and released who it was?
So we understand that the person reporting was here at the location. We're not going to release any information regarding the identity of that individual at this time.
We're being
Chief,
told that
why
a
are you not
family. We're being
looking-
told that.
Hold on.
Pardon me.
Hold on, one at a time,
We're
please.
being told that a family member is being interviewed in connection to these deaths. Can you confirm that? And is that family member being cooperative?
There are going to be many family members interviewed. I'm not going to confirm whether someone's being interviewed at this time or not. We're going to try to speak to every family member that we can to get to the facts of this investigation.
Chief, why?
Okay, so this is important because this is Sunday night at 9:30. They found the bodies after a 911 call on Sunday afternoon at 3:40 p.m., according to this detective. They have nothing else right now. In fact, I would argue they can't even go back into the home at this point in time. They're not allowed. So anything beyond this timeline is speculation. Nick did it. Nick was crazy. All this stuff. It's all speculation because up until this time, internally in the home, there is no investigation. Why? Because they need a search warrant. Once you leave the premise of the home because of your Fourth Amendment, you can't go, police officers can't keep showing up at your house. They can't keep coming back inside and, oh, we forgot to look at this. Oh, we forgot to do that. We moved the person from here to there. They can't contaminate the scene at all either. So they're waiting for a search warrant and they're waiting for the coroner to show up. Coroner hasn't been here yet. This is 9:30 at night. This is about 6 hours after the bodies were found. According to TMZ, Nick murdered his parents before midnight, before December 14th at midnight, before midnight, sometime after the party. We still don't know if they left together. We don't know if Rob, Michelle, and Nick left together. That's where we're at so far, according to what this detective is saying. Let's continue.
Why are you not looking for a suspect?
I'm sorry.
Chief, why are you not exactly looking for a suspect? Are you confident you know who did this?
We have not identified a suspect at this time.
Well, then shouldn't you be looking for one so these neighbors aren't worried about their own lives and their own safety?
Yeah, so at this time, after we determine, so I need everyone to understand something. In order to comply with the legal process, before we do anything here, we have to get a search warrant because there are issues regarding standing at this residence. So as long as those legal requirements are met, we can continue the investigation. Now, when I tell you that we have not identified a suspect, it doesn't mean that we're not working the case. We will not identify a suspect until that person is identified as a suspect and we're legally seeking them if there is a crime to be reported and if that person is a suspect in that crime.
Okay. This is important because we skip over this stuff. We, meaning you American friends of mine. Most of my audience is American. Our rules are a little bit different. But in America, You need a search warrant. You need an autopsy. They don't have any of that stuff yet. None of it. And what he said was they are actually still continuing with the investigation. They're allowed to ask questions. They're allowed to ask Romy, where were you? Do you know anything? That kind of stuff. Okay, you're free to go. Jake, where were you? Just letting you know your parents have died, all this kind of stuff. You're free to go. Nick, just letting you know your parents have been killed, and you're free to go, basically. But because you can't go back into the house, we're going to ask that you go nearby somewhere. And if you need a ride or whatever it is, I get this is traumatic for you. We recommend a hotel close by so that in case we have any more questions, we got to go through all your family members. And would you be okay with that? Yes. Okay. Which hotel? Pierside. Okay. Awesome. We'll have someone take you there. You can book into the hotel, and then if we have any questions, we'll bring you down to the station. My understanding is that that is exactly what they did. Is they detained Nick, not at this point. This is 9:30 at night on Sunday, but later into the wee hours of the morning, they brought Nick in for questioning, and most likely the entire family was questioned. But it's not an arrest. To be detained is not an arrest. It just means you're being questioned because this officer said we're going to ask all the family members. And as far as we're aware, the family has been notified by someone at the house, and we're not going to tell you who. We know that Alex, Romy's boyfriend / roommate, who lives nearby, called 911 for Romy. We also know that Romy called Billy Crystal. We haven't heard anything much more than that. We've only heard that she spoke to Billy Crystal. There's also rumors flying around that Billy Crystal was at the house on the morning of, before the bodies were found. So Sunday morning. That's speculation, but I have heard that. And it's important for me to tell you that during this time frame, this is what was going on. Romy did not get into an ambulance and listen to Michelle, her mom, say, your brother did it. That's what TMZ said right out of the gate. TMZ said that there was a dying declaration. Then Megyn Kelly ran with that story with Billy Bush saying there was a dying declaration. So let's listen to that. And then we'll come back to this because it's important, because they are running away with the narrative. And I'm saying this is too early. This is too early. So who's your source? Who's the source? And I have a feeling I know who the source was. And I'm going to share with you. But we got to go to Megyn Kelly to hear what she had to say.
Breaking news out of Los Angeles. 78-year-old director Rob Reiner and his 68-year-old wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, reportedly stabbed to death at the couple's Brentwood mansion. People magazine reporting the couple was killed by their son, Nick, though Deputy Chief of the LAPD, Alan Hamilton, declining to confirm that reporting, calling it, quote, a death investigation, but saying the report about the son, quote, did not come from us. Nick has previously been open about his struggles with drug abuse and mental illness. LAPD Robbery Homicide Division detectives were assigned to the case, reports local outlet NBC4. ABC7 in LA reporting that their LAPD sources have told them this is, quote, a murder investigation. Outlets reporting a large police presence around the home on Sunday evening. LA paramedics called to the home around 3:30 p.m. yesterday. LAPD officers originally dispatched to the home for a report of a, quote, ambulance death investigation, which is LAPD terminology when officers are called by firefighters to the discovery of a death. ABC7 reporting actors Billy Crystal and Larry David spotted at the home yesterday afternoon. Crystal, quote, looked like he was about to cry, according to a neighbor. Another briefing set for this morning.
All right. That is not the clip, but that's okay. I'll find the clip. It's interesting that from all the sources that I've uncovered, it was the fire department that showed up first. And that's typical when 911 is called. They are usually on standby. They're ready to go. So they show up first, and then they call the police. And my understanding is the police showed up about 45 minutes later. Because again, there's no criminal activity or anything like that. So there's no rush for them to get to that place, especially if they're in the middle of other things. I think we think of 911 always like from William Shatner's version of it, where things just happen like this. The fire department was there. They discovered Rob Reiner's body because remember, Romy went inside the house, found her dad, and left, and came outside, and her roommate called 911. And then when the fire department came, they actually found Michelle Reiner in another room, which is a little bit different of a scenario than what we were told at first. We were told at first that they were asleep, and what kind of a son would slit their parents' throat? What kind of a son would do this kind of thing on Hanukkah? Why? Right away. And again, I blame a lot of this stuff on Harvey Levine. This guy right away on day one, and they began working on their documentary to try and change the narrative, perhaps to taint the jury. Don't know. They've said everything, and I could do a whole episode on just all the crazy things that they've said about Nick before the trial. You got to ask yourself, why are they doing this? So I want to show this clip because it's important for us to document this stuff as to what they were saying literally 48 hours after they found out that Rob and Michelle were murdered. And I'm going to go back to the detective because, again, he's saying we don't have any suspects. So you can't say before that, oh, when the police are saying there is no suspects right now. We have nobody. Nobody's arrested. Nobody's detained. There is no coronary investigation. The coroner didn't show up. There is no search warrant. Nothing has started. The clock hasn't started yet. And as time progresses, it's going to get a little bit more difficult for the coroner to figure out an exact time of death. It gets difficult the further you stretch it out. You can tell maybe perhaps how they died. But now we're getting reports that they didn't have their throats slashed. So it's starting to look a little bit more like a burglary gone bad. But they're not putting it in that light. They're saying it's right away it's a murder investigation. It's not what he said. It was a death investigation. Even the fire department, when they showed up, that's how they classified it. Now, I'm not saying they weren't stabbed, but being stabbed in different rooms tells me there's some kind of an altercation going on versus in one room. Because that's what they said when they're in their sleep. Because Nick, when you look at him, you watch any of his interviews, he does not look like a powerhouse at all. And now they're trying to make it look like this guy is like an assassin or like he's some kind of a Hulk that he can actually hold his dad down slit his throat, stab him 26 times, and then move on to his mom and do the same thing to her. That's what they're trying to do, and they're going to say that he's mental, he's on meth and all this stuff. But it's not adding up. It's actually more in favor of the idea that somebody went into their home to try and burglarize the home while the Reiners were at a Christmas party, because this is a thing in Brentwood. Criminals scope out celebrity homes. I told you about the bling ring. Teenagers who would purposely figure out, according to social media, where celebrities were. And then they would go and rob them. I think of Paris Hilton. She had her stuff. She had her home broken into. She didn't even have her home locked. Instead, what she would do is put her key underneath the mat. So if she did lock herself out, she could find her key. And these teenagers found the key, went into her home, broke in, stole cash. She didn't even know the cash was missing. It wasn't until later that she saw somebody holding some of her diamonds, they were posting her jewelry online, that she put two and two together and said, I've been robbed by these punk kids. And Brentwood is notorious for having burglaries, and it's on the rise. And yet there's no talk about it at all. Nothing. And here's an interesting thing that we might dive into a little bit more. Brentwood is also known for a little bit of anti-Semitism by Muslims living in that area, in that region, protesting. Rob Reiner's Jewish. Their family's Jewish. Billy Crystal's Jewish. There's a lot of Jews living in that neighborhood, and you can't help but look at this as being some kind of a ritualistic execution. And the only people, or the only types of people, I should say, that come to mind that will execute people, stab them, use a knife, and slit their throats are radicals. You can say radical Muslims, radical terrorists would be a better way to say it. People that are trying to rob a home, break in, and again, if they know they're not there and they show up, and there's lots more questions that need to be asked, and they're not asking these questions. Again, remember, the robbery division showed up first. And then later we learned that they actually combined with homicide and robbery, but they treated this as a robbery at the very beginning. This is what happens in this neighborhood. It's not family members killing family members. That's not how you start an investigation. You start the investigation by knowing, hey, look, this looks like there is a struggle. The person was killed in this room, and the person was killed in that room, and it looks like they somehow got into this house. Again, a lot of these celebrities don't have alarm systems. They just don't. They don't have cameras. They don't have alarm systems, especially the older generation. Rob Reiner's 78. I just thought it was common practice to have surveillance everywhere. And this could be a reason why we don't have any video footage, because they may not have had video cameras. We think everybody has cameras. I don't have cameras at my place. So it's not everywhere. It's not everywhere. We have locks, all kinds of stuff, but not that. So not every celebrity has alarm systems. There was an alarm company, ACS, that actually patrolled the area, and later we find out Rob's a personal assistant, and I'm going to show you a little bit about this character, which to me is still a little bit of an enigma, but I can buy the idea that he was his assistant, It's just weird when he shows up, and I'll show the footage. He shows up out of nowhere and basically saying, I can help. He shows up the next night after, arguably after Nick was arrested, or late Sunday night. Still a mystery in that timeline. Okay, let's go to another clip of Megan talking about the dying declaration, because this is important. So this clip that I'm showing you aired on Wednesday, December 17th. That's when this clip. So we're just going to listen to it. We're going to listen up to the point where we hear Megan say that there is a dying declaration, which is important in law. It's important in court. When they hear that right away, it's the death sentence and all kinds of stuff. So let's just hear it from her words. And most importantly, I want you guys to listen to where she got this information from. And it's always one common denominator.
And so I don't think
Which they are saying this is, though. They are calling this special circumstance.
Yes.
Now,
It's definitely special
because
circ.
It was
Multiple murder.
They say it is, but I agree that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to seek the death penalty. They've charged him with. Oh, hold on a second. That's a different case. But in any event, yes, they have alleged special circumstances against Nick Reiner. I always presume people know the cases that we've been covering nonstop, but I hate when people do that. We are discussing the murder of famed director Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, killed in their home, allegedly by their own 32-year-old son, Nick Reiner, who had a lifetime of drug addiction problems and reportedly mental health problems as well. Getting some more details on that. Here's the charges. 2 counts of first-degree murder with a special circumstance of multiple murders. Also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife. These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison and the possibility, or without the possibility of parole, and also potentially the death penalty. They'll make the decision on the death penalty later. But now we're getting a few more details. The Daily Mail, Arthur, reporting they were found in bed with their throats cut and may have been asleep when they were murdered. A source close to the investigation tells the Daily Mail. I mean, that would only amplify Matt's point if he, in other words, left them no chance whatsoever, just like sneaked up on them, took their lives while they were asleep. I'm not sure a jury's going to feel too fondly about that.
So again, that's not what happened. They were found in separate rooms, but this is how a narrative gets built. Like, oh, can you imagine what kind of a son would do that, where he would creep in while his parents are asleep and then slit their throats? And we don't even know if their throats were slit. We know they were stabbed. We don't know how many times, because LAPD actually took the medical examiner report down from the public so that we can't see it. And that, according to all the news outlets, is weird, is bizarro. You don't do that. If you're trying to be fully transparent, you will let people read the medical examiner's report. But it's strange that after this narrative that they were both asleep, that later we find out that they're both in different rooms, and now we're like, well, it kind of looks like there's a bit of a struggle. So kind of looks like Nick Reiner needed to know ninjutsu to be able to hold his dad, who arguably is a size and a half bigger than Nick. Nick looks skinny. I guess he's gained a little bit of weight. But my point is, his dad is not tiny. It's not a tiny dad. So now you got to be a martial arts expert to hold somebody down, knife them, while the wife is running around the house. So is there more than one person? Because that sounds to me pretty hard to do when you look at Nick Reiner. If you're always saying he's in and out of rehab and all this kind of stuff, when is he going to learn martial arts? When is he going to learn how to take people out, to take 2 people, let alone one person that's as big as Rob? So you got to ask the questions. but they're leaping right now. So let's continue.
Either. They died, we believe, sometime overnight Saturday night. Their bodies were found 3:30 p.m. on Sunday when their daughter Romy found them and called 911. The report yesterday that we aired from Billy Bush has been contradicted, that Romy did not find her mother alive and that there was no last minute statement that it was the son. That was his reporting.
See? So they reported it on December 16th that it was a dying declaration, and this was made by Billy Bush. Now he had to redact that and say, I was wrong. And I told you from day one that there was nobody arrested Sunday. There was no medical examiner's report before 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. They didn't have any suspects. And I showed this to everyone on Sunday night because that's when the LAPD, and we're going to go back to them, said that we have no suspects. Then somebody from People magazine said, we heard that Nick did it. And the officer said, who's that from? People? Don't listen to this stuff. This is all hearsay. That's not what we said. So they're running with this stuff. They're picking on someone that has arguably been in and out of rehab 16, 17, 18 times by the time he was 16. That's all they have on Nick. They're like, you mean he's not in rehab anymore after that? No, it was just 17 or 18 times according to Nick in 2016 when he was 22 years old. Now he's 32. You don't see him being arrested or anything. No trouble, not causing any trouble. And so now they're starting to build the narrative that maybe he did it when they were sleeping. And then we find out they were wrong. So let me go back. Let's see how. So what happens sometimes, and I haven't watched this clip. I actually thought it was the other clip where Billy Bush actually says he got information from another source, TMZ, that said that there was a dying declaration. But this is new to me, so this is actually good, because usually what happens is they'll say something like, hey, we got it wrong. It actually wasn't a dying declaration. But regardless, what kind of a horrible son would do this? What kind of a mental state would he have to be to do this heinous crime? It's almost like they double down. They redact, they pull something, and then they spin it another way. So let's just hear what she says. And again, I'm a fan of Megyn Kelly, but sometimes they just run with this narrative because they get all the clicks.
Now several reports contradicting that, saying that there's no support for that whatsoever. Nick, one of the Reiner's 3 children, had been living in the mansion's guest house. He would, quote, according to a friend, do meth and not sleep for days and then have outbursts, breaking things, punching walls. He was, quote, a ticking time bomb. His drug use was getting worse. His parents wanted him out, claimed the friend. According to TMZ, after leaving the Conan O'Brien Christmas party on Saturday night, where Rob and Michelle had been invited, and it looks like they graciously brought their kid along who lived at their guest house.
Okay. That's the thing that keeps coming up. Like, you insert stuff by saying graciously drug their kid along. They were a tight-knit family. I keep saying that. Rob, Michelle, Jake, Romy, Nick, Tracy, they all hung out together, and they would go to these Christmas parties hosted by Conan O'Brien year after year after year. And sometimes they would go to another Christmas party before that one, and the Reiners would also host their own parties. So would Adam Sandler, who lives next door to Rob Reiner. So would Billy Crystal. This is what they do at this time of the year, is they go from house to house as a family, and they would partake of the festive events, festive parties. They weren't dragging Nick along. That's like saying Rob drug Nick along to Spinal Tap 2 when they wanted to watch the premiere together as a family. If you watch this after, you're going to be your view is going to be tainted. I just happen to know a little bit about Rob Reiner before I dove into this murder investigation. And I just happened to watch a ton of interviews Sunday and Monday to get to know the family. And then you started to see TMZ start to spin the narrative. Well, okay, if he's not strong enough to tackle Rob Reiner in one bedroom and then chase down Michelle in another bedroom to kill her as well, he has to be on meth. And we need doctors, we need people that are smart to be able to say this could only be because he's on meth. Meanwhile, in the documentary that aired last Friday, Harvey Levine has been on record to say that Nick was clean for 6 years, at least. Meaning, if you go all the way back to 2019, he's not on illegal drugs. He's not taking meth, nothing. If you're going to build a case and say, well, maybe it was Adderall because he liked Adderall. In one interview, he said sometimes he was hooked on Adderall. If you're going to do that and say that's what caused him to murder his parents, you're on thin ice already. So he wasn't on meth or anything for 6 years. That's what all the reports. This is what the main source that everybody's using, TMZ. This is right out of the words of Harvey Levine that he was clean for 6 years. So that takes you to 2019. 2016, he was on tour with his dad saying that they made this movie, and a lot of it was about a person that was in and out of rehab, a character with a girlfriend, with a dad that was trying to be a governor, all this stuff. These are characters. This is the movie Leaving Charlie is not about Nick's life. That's like saying A Few Good Men with starring Tom Cruise is about Rob Reiner on the wall as a soldier. That's not, it's not about Rob. Rob will inject bits of his personality into some of the movies that he directed, but that's not him. Because then you're going to have to say he was fantastic at sword fighting because he directed Princess Bride, and that's not true. He's not a sword fighter at all. So nobody in their right mind would say Rob directed the movie because he was a master swordsman, but because Nick and his friend Matt co-wrote Leaving Charlie, and Rob helped him write it. Remember this. Rob helped him write it and directed it. They worked on it for almost 2 years. Nick wrote it for 4 years with his friend Matt, and then Nick smoothed it out for 9 months. And Nick was on the set every single day, and the actors that were there said they got along fantastic. There was no problem. And you're going to find that narrative. Celebrity after celebrity after celebrity is going to say that Nick is normal. He looks normal. He doesn't look violent. But according to TMZ, this guy is strong like a Hulk. He's like an assassin. And he's on meth. And he murdered his parents in their sleep. And none of that is true. And he wasn't arrested Sunday night. He was arrested Monday night. Let's go back to the LAPD. I hope you're getting something out of this. I hope you're getting some, because we're trying to build a timeline, because what could happen on February 23rd is Nick could stand up and you're going to be shocked and say, not guilty. And you're going to be like, what? He's not crazy? Because right now in jail, he's saying, I never did it. I've been set up. I've been framed. Somebody's out to get us, to destroy our family. That's what he's saying. So then TMZ counters it by saying, oh, it's just because he's coming off the meds now. He's unaware of what he did. No, he's aware that he's in jail right now for the murder of his parents. And he's saying, I didn't do it. And they're saying, well, it's because he's coming off the meds now. He's starting to act normal. I'm telling you guys, there's more to this than meets the eye. And you might be asking the question, well, who did it then? Okay, hold on here. I'm just trying to tell you that Nick didn't do it. And now you're jumping on me to say, well, then who did it? Like, I got to solve every problem. And I'm trying to say that there's a good chance that this was just a robbery gone bad. Let's go back to the LAPD.
From that, and is that family member being cooperative?
There are going to be many family members interviewed. I'm not going to confirm whether someone's being interviewed at this time or not. We're going to try to speak to every family member that we can to get to the facts of this investigation.
Chief, why are you not looking for a suspect?
I'm sorry.
Chief, why are you not exactly looking for a suspect? Are you confident you know who did this?
We have not identified a suspect at this time.
Well, then shouldn't you be looking for one so these neighbors aren't worried about their own lives and their own safety?
Yeah, so at this time, after we determine, so I need everyone to understand something. In order to comply with the legal process, before we do anything here, we have to get a search warrant because there are issues regarding standing at this residence. So as long as those legal requirements are met, we can continue the investigation. Now, when I tell you that we have not identified a suspect, it doesn't mean that we're not working the case. We will not identify a suspect until that person is identified as a suspect, and we're legally seeking them if there is a crime to be reported, and if that person is a suspect in that crime.
Has anyone been
detained? Hold on.
Alan,
Did that answer your question, sir?
No.
Okay,
Has
No.
anyone been detained yet for questioning? Are you questioning people now that could be possible suspects and or a person or persons of interest?
Specifically to your first question, no one has been detained. Specifically to your second question, no one is being interviewed.
What were the
As a suspect.
injuries? What were the injuries? We're being
We're
told
not
that this was a
gonna
stabbing.
yeah, so we're not gonna comment on the injuries at this time. That information will be coming forward in the coming days as it's publicly releasable. If it is part of the investigation and it is not publicly releasable, we will not be releasing it.
Deputy, are your detectives inside the
Hold on. One at a time. Whoa. Hold on, one at a time. This gentleman is next.
Are your detectives inside the home right now? Are they getting access to the home right now as we speak?
We're waiting for the legal process to move forward. We have to obtain a search warrant for the residence. As soon as that is complied with, we will be conducting a full crime scene investigation on the interior and the exterior of the residence and the surrounding neighborhood.
Just to follow up, Deputy Chief, is there somebody from the family not allowing detectives inside the home right now?
That's inconsequential. We have to comply with the legal process. It doesn't matter whether the family allows us in or not.
Detective, what are the...
Hold on, ma'am.
Have the family members been notified? The victim's family members been notified?
Has the family been notified of what? That an incident occurred here?
That there were two victims?
I believe the family is aware.
In other words, why are you not releasing their names? They're out there, Chief.
That's going to be the Los Angeles County Coroner that releases the information.
Chief, is this a homicide?
Ma'am, go ahead. Your question first.
Yes. Is this a homicide?
At this time, it's a death investigation. Again, until we get inside and we make a determination, we can't call it anything. So we're going to conduct that Hold on.
So this is important because I think people forget this, that the bodies haven't been moved. And if TMZ is saying that they were murdered Saturday night, this is Sunday night. This is almost 24 hours later. And the bodies are still in the same exact position that they found them. Because if they move them, they're tampering with evidence. So nobody's there. Nobody's there because they don't have a coroner. They don't have a medical examiner showing up. And they don't have a search warrant. So this isn't like Hollywood where you can just kick doors down and go back inside. You can't do that with a home with an estate. Arguably, Rob and Michelle Reiner are worth over $200 million. So you can't just barge in there because there will be lawsuits down the road. Let's continue.
We're going to conduct that investigation at the appropriate time. We will identify what kind of incident it is, and if it's determined to be a crime, we will seek the suspect, we will bring them to justice, and we will take them into custody.
The mayor has confirmed it's the Reiners. The mayor has already confirmed it's the Reiners. Can you tell us any more?
I can't speak for the mayor, but I can speak for the Los Angeles Police Department. The Los Angeles County Coroner will identify the decedents that are inside of the residence. And that will be, that will be the official notification and the official identification of the decedents inside of the residence.
Under what circumstances were the bodies discovered?
I'm not going to address that.
Can you give us more details about needing the warrants and the family not letting you in? Can you just explain more?
Sure. There's a legal process whenever you're going to conduct an investigation at a crime scene in the state of California. There are certain requirements that you have to meet in order to conduct a thorough investigation. So you don't want to start a crime scene investigation.
Someone is like, I heard them, one of the reporters say, this is nonsense. Again, if you're used to watching movies all the time, you're going to go, this doesn't make any sense. It makes sense if the LAPD has a reputation for not going by the book. If you don't follow all the rules, this case can get tossed. Nick will go free without having to say innocent or not innocent or anything. Not guilty by reason of Senate. He won't have to do anything if these guys make a mistake. Why? Because the burden of proof is on the prosecution. It's not on the defense. It's on the prosecution. So these guys have to do everything by the book. And right now, this is, as each day ticks by, to me, it goes more in favor of Nick because there's so much publicity out there that is saying that Nick murdered his parents, and they're tainting the jury right now. Instead of just saying, let's just wait for the evidence during the trial and let's watch there. Because right now it's like TMZ just ran their mouth with all this negative stuff that Nick was responsible, that there's a dying declaration. That's what started this whole thing. If that story didn't break, I'm quite sure that they would be looking for the robbers or whoever it was that broke into this home. Because again, Brentwood is notorious for break-ins. Brentwood is notorious for robberies and theft. Brentwood is notorious at times for anti-Semite protests, people that don't like Jews. And it's interesting that this happened during Hanukkah. Let's not forget that. Let's continue.
And then have someone say, I need you guys to leave the residence right now. So we're going to, hold on, you asked the question, I'm going to answer. Okay. So we have to comply with the legal process. Once the warrant is signed and delivered, we will have access to the crime scene. We will conduct a full, thorough, impartial investigation. We will conduct additional investigations in the neighborhood around this area. And then with that information, we will go forward with the investigation, whether it is a death investigation or some other type of investigation.
Besides robbing, what? There are other people.
And I do want to be clear. Hold on. I want to be clear with one thing. Wherever we can be transparent and provide information to the public, we will release it as soon as we can.
Is there an understanding about when the decedents may have passed?
No. That's going to be determined by the coroner. The coroner's not here.
It's been about 6 hours since the first report. Why is it taking so long to gain access to start this investigation?
I don't understand.
Well, it's been 6 hours since police were first called to the scene. Why is it taking
just to
so
be
long
clear,
for this investigation
just to be clear,
start?
there's an initial investigation when the patrol officers arrive. When they make a determination that detectives are needed, they will back out. We will conduct a sweep of the area to make sure that it's safe. And then we will comply with the legal process, and then we move forward. I'm not giving you the exact timeline on that, but I'm telling you that it's moving forward. Pete, you had another question.
Yes, a twofold question. One, how soon do we anticipate getting a warrant where you're able to search the entire property, interior and exterior? Second, do we have an ETA on the coroner's arrival? And once they arrive and make the initial determination, will they be able to give you identification that you can then release
We'll be obtaining the warrant in real time very shortly if we have not obtained it already. In terms of the coroner's ETA, I cannot tell you when their estimated time of arrival is.
Chief, so
We're already in communication with the coroner's office.
But as far as the overall investigation is concerned, beyond the initial determination, we have 2 scenes inside. We really haven't done anything in the way of any kind of forensics on the death scene itself, right?
That's correct. We've only done preliminary investigation at this point.
the bodies remain inside, correct, Chief?
No, okay, so nothing has occurred inside the house. The house is in the exact same state it was when the officers arrived, just to be clear.
Chief, are we safe in Brentwood tonight?
I'm
Are
sorry?
we safe in Brentwood tonight, Chief?
I can't hear you.
Are we safe in Brentwood, the neighbors of the community?
Oh, are we safe in Brentwood? I'm sorry. Yeah, so we have officers here at the scene. We have officers in the area. We're not looking for anyone in the Brentwood area at this point. We're not looking for anyone because we're still working on that part of the investigation.
Chief, besides the Reiners, Chief,
Hold on. Someone over here had a question.
What can you say about the fact that it's been reported it was the son of the family?
I don't understand.
Rob Reiner's son is.
But reported by who?
People?
Okay, I don't know. People magazine or people in the. I don't know anything about that. Yeah,
Chief,
that did not. Hold on. That did not come from the LAPD. Go ahead.
So she just said we've heard from People Magazine that it was the son, Nick, and he's like, that didn't come from LAPD because they can get into trouble for this. They don't have a search warrant. They can't search the home. They can't arrest anyone. You can't just walk up to people and arrest them. You think you can do that because you watch too much movies, just like I think that. But when you dig into it, you can't do that. Police officers in the United States of America can't walk up to random U.S. citizens and say you're under arrest. You need a reason to arrest that person. And if it's not disclosed to that person, you're in trouble. So that's why I'm saying Nick was detained Sunday night at the police station, but he was asked questions and released. He was allowed to go, and most likely they said stayed near because we might have more questions. This answers why Nick got a hotel room close by, because he can't go home. He lives in a guest house, and this guest house is better than most people's homes. It's got showers, it's got a pool, it's got everything. This is a fantastic place. But he's not allowed to go there because his home, the whole area, is sectioned off. It's under investigation. So I'm leaping to say that most likely when he was being detained, because you can't hold people. If they're not under arrest, you can't hold people as a police officer. In the United States, you can't. If they're a suspect, you can ask them questions and stuff, but unless you have a reason to arrest them, you can't do it. You're breaking the law. So they had to gather evidence. They went into the home the next day with the coroner there, the medical examiner. They got a search warrant. They're able to look around the place. They didn't find a weapon. They went back, found Nick at this other place, which again, they're not telling you that there was a Jewish festival there the next night because it's Hanukkah. That's where he was found, outside an area where they had a Jewish festival. And he was reported to have purchased Gatorade, because you could see the footage. I'll show it in another episode. We're already getting to almost the hour mark, and I like to keep these videos short. But one interesting thing in the documentary that TMZ mentioned was that Nick ordered non-alcoholic drinks. I think they're Heineken, which is interesting because if everyone's saying he's a raging alcoholic, he's a raging meth, why would he get non-alcoholic beer at the hotel? I think it's because he just left the police station, and the last thing he would want to do is drink because they could question him in regards to alcohol. And if he's been clean for 6 years, which is what TMZ said, that kind of lines up with everything that we've been seeing from Nick. That seems to line up with everything that we've been seeing from Nick. that he's calm, that he looks normal, that he checked into the hotel and there was nothing about him that looked weird, like he had no cuts, no bruises, nothing. Why? Most likely he was coming back from the police station. He was probably even dropped off by the police because remember, he doesn't drive. And there was no blood on Nick or any signs of anything. So that makes sense that he was detained, which is not the same as arrested. So when you hear on Monday, when you hear the police officers say he was detained, that doesn't mean he was arrested. He was questioned, just like Romy was questioned, just like Jake, just like Tracy, just like anyone else was questioned. That's not the same as an arrest. They gathered evidence enough to be able to arrest Nick Monday night at about 9:30, 9:15, 9:30 on Monday night. So he checked in on Monday at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Tuesday morning, the rumor again spit out by TMZ originally and other sources that there was blood in the bathtub, that there was blinds over the curtains, there's blood on the bed sheets, all this kind of stuff. And when you think about it, hotels have blinds anyway. They just do because people need to sleep. So they pull the blinds, they pull the curtains. That's normal. I used to manage a hotel for 4 years. So I know how it works. So you got to throw the blinds out the window. The maids, when they came in at 5 o'clock the next day, the next morning, some people say it was about 11:30. Don't know. The times are all kind of jumbled. But whenever they came in the next day to check the room, they said Nick had not checked out. That tells me that's the next day, 24 hours later. It's ridiculous for a maid to go into your room after you check in, for example, in Nick's case, on Monday morning. It's weird if you're in the hotel, and it makes sense that he checked in at 4 now if he's been at the police station all night long answering questions. And then they told him, hey, stay at the hotel because we're going to have more questions. Don't leave the country. And he checks in, but he doesn't check out. Checks in with a credit card, looks normal. The next morning, that night he gets arrested at a gas station, almost like they were waiting for him for about an hour. They were setting it up, making sure they have their T's and I's crossed and I's dotted. Everything had to be perfect. And then they swarmed in and he didn't fight them or anything. He just looked normal. He didn't resist arrest or anything. And then they said that he was booked on Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. Not Monday morning, Tuesday morning, which is December 16th. And then the media starts running with this stuff, December 16th, 17th, and 18th, saying that Nick was arrested Sunday night. He wasn't arrested Sunday night. He was detained for questions and then let go. All right, so that's enough for today's video. In tomorrow's video, we are going to be talking a little bit more about Rocco, talk a little bit more about the hotel, the timelines. Again, it's important to get this right. And then I'm going to show you some footage that you haven't seen before with regards to Alan Jackson at the home of Rob and Michelle Reiner as he investigates the home. And you're going to be shocked as to who appears next to Alan Jackson. You're going to be shocked. You're going to be floored. So make sure you're sitting down when you watch tomorrow's show. So thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.